Hey everyone, it's Jan and I am back with that tutorial that I promised you on what I am calling the mega distressed flowers. There is this very talented lady in Nova Scotia named Tammy, and I'm going to have her YouTube name up on the screen. If you have not seen the stuff that she does, you need to go check her out. Very inspiring, and she has created what we are now calling the Tammy flower. And I just could not resist playing with it myself. And you all know me. If I start making flowers, I have to get book pages out. So I want to show you how I did this. Now, you do not need all of these punches to make these flowers. I'm just showing you that you could use a variety of punches. You could use bigger. If you have a Cricut, you could cut them out. Really, you just want anywhere from, gosh, really small like this, which is a 1 inch. You can go as big as you like. And I just have made kind of a variety here, and I'm going to clean this off and then show you how I made them. But just go see what you have, use what you already have available to you. Gosh, you could hand cut some of these out. So this is one of those things that you don't have to have a lot of supplies. So for those of you that are new to scrapbooking, this is a great technique to use because you don't have to go buy stuff. So I will be back in just a minute and show you how to put these together. So the technique is really about getting them wet and crumpling them up. And I am going to use some glimmer mist to color them. But if you don't have glimmer mist, really and truly all you need is to put some water and maybe a little paint on them. I'm just using it because it's a very simple way to dispense the liquid. But you just want to get them damp, and we're going to crumple them up. So I'm just going to start by putting, I believe that one is Frost, and I like using, if I'm going to get the most use out of these, I'm going to use a couple of colors just because it gives you visual interest. And now that these have gotten damp, you just want to crumple them up in an itty-bitty ball. Okay, so your next step after you have let them be all crumpled and is to take them and gently open them back up. And you'll want to be a little careful with them because they're a little fragile because they're wet. And then take your heat tool and we want to finish drying them. So I wanted to show you, before we move on, that you can do the same thing with your leaves. And all I did was I took some cardstock and folded it over and cut leaf shapes. Some of them I cut large, some of them I cut smaller. And you do the exact same thing, only with your green watercolor or distress ink or whatever you want to do. And you end up with these leaves that are just so stinking cute. Okay, so before I build the flower, there's two other things that I want to do to it. You all have seen me use Rub and Buff, the gold. This is the antique white. And I sometimes forget that white can be as cool a distress look as our walnut stain or whatever. But I decided I would go with the lighter distressing on these flowers. And just like in my other tutorials, you really don't need very much. Just letting it hit the high spots. On my petals, and I want to do a little bit on my book page. I start fairly sparingly, and I can always add more. But I wanted to get some down in the base of the flower before I put them together, because sometimes it's kind of hard to get to those little nook and crannies after you could use some white acrylic paint. You don't have to have this rub and buff. Again, I'm just using things that are sitting out on my desk. These are kind of go-to type supplies for me. So, but you could get the same effect by putting a little dab of white acrylic paint out and doing your finger the same way. I'm going to do some rock candy distress stickles as well. And the reason that I'm using the rock candy versus something like diamond dust or some of the other clear stickles is because distress stickles you can heat with your heat tool and they won't burn. And I just put a little out on my craft mat and do exactly the same thing. And it'll look a little mucky while you're putting the distress stickles on, but when you add the heat to it, the glue just totally disappears. It dries to a matte finish and all you see are the little bits of glitter. It's time to build our flower, and I'm just going to start with the base and put a little glue in the center, and just want to offset your petals just a little bit. And this is when using maybe a couple different shape punches or cut your flowers out by hand with a little bit different shaped petals will be really nice, because it gives so much dimension to it. And I just kept building these up. And you know, you could put a pearl or something in the center, but I just think they're so pretty just by themselves. Put a little stickles down in the center here. Look at what a pretty flower we have. Isn't that lovely? And I think the type on the book page adds a really nice element to it. So I want to say thank you to Tammy for introducing me to this mega distressed technique for my flowers. I know I'm going to be making a lot of these because they're so fun and simple. I hope you'll play along and make some as well. Y'all have a good weekend. Bye.